screen. Excellent. All right, so I've got y'all all here, and looks like it's looking good. We are streaming. We are live. Thank you, everybody, for joining Fire Talks. We got a little small crowd today, but I don't care. We're going to keep this going. I'm Rainmaker, and welcome to Fire Talks. This is a monthly InfoSec meetup that we're doing in lieu of Dallas Hackers Association. Eventually, we will reconvene at Family Karaoke and become one as a family again. Wirefall, any update? Or are we still kind of in limbo? You're on mute if you are, but either way, as far as I know, DHA is on hiatus until we're updated otherwise. So anyway, what we've got here today is we're going to go over a couple of news stories, and then we're going to jump into our conversations and presentations. Let's see if I can do this real quick here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the election, thus the background. So, so far, has anybody heard about the any election hacking? Anything? Yeah, I didn't think so. So far, this election has been free from any sort of cybersecurity hacking. We may hear about it later, but until otherwise, this has been fairly secure election. The one thing that they're alerting us to is there is a interesting robo-dial that is going on. The FBI and New York Attorney General are trying to figure out what's going on, but there's this robo-marketing, robocall that sends it at the highest level and basically says, stay at home, stay safe. And people are assuming this is trying to keep people from attending and voting, but I think more than anything, it's probably either a test call or just some weird way to try to tell people to stay safe from COVID. I think that's more of a COVID thing versus a election interference campaign. Anybody ever? Apparently, this is the number 3 robo-dial right now in the United States. Has anybody gotten this robo-dial? Because I haven't.
Nope, I have not.
Well, I think this may be something a little bit more up in the Northeast, being that this is the New York State Attorney General. But that really is the only type of election security news that I'm kind of seeing. Now, another piece of news that was just released is, anybody remember Kim.com out in New Zealand?
Yeah.
Used to run Mega or yeah.
The file share program, yeah.
Exactly. At one point in time, Mr. .com would brag that he was responsible for 4% of all internet traffic. Because of that, a lot of people were using the Mega Upload as a platform for piracy. So that's actually what Mr.com is in trouble with. The New Zealand government has recently allowed for Mr.com to be extradited to the United States. So we should be seeing some copyright violation legislation. He should be convicted shortly for a copyright violation. We'll see what that's looking like. But basically, his premise of defense was in New Zealand, it's not illegal to do that, but it is in the United States. He was in New Zealand the entire time. So he was copywriting, infringing on the copyrights of U.S. copyrighted materials. So theoretically, what do y'all think about that? How do we apply? Is that applicable? I mean, should he be extradited? I'm curious to hear what you think.
Mega is huge for piracy. I like to play old games and ROMs and things, and all the stuff you can find on there.
Mm-hmm.
Just so much. I think I downloaded every GameCube game from there. That was Google Drive. Google Drive is like actually bigger than Mega for piracy, ironically. I don't know about Expedition, but
Give me 1 second here. Discord.
Hey, can anyone hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you coming in loud and proud.
Awesome.
Yeah, were you having audio issues?
Yeah, Discord. The test showed audio, but for some reason nobody was hearing me. I just changed browsers.
Gotcha. Sometimes my noise cancellation does the same thing, so I feel you, but welcome back. Appreciate you being here. Also, we got some new ransomware news. Well, it looks like toy maker Mattel disclosed that they were a victim of a ransomware attack. But you know what? I don't think anybody heard about it in the news. You know why? Well, it's because they backed their shit up. They were doing things right, you know? It was... I'm very happy about that because that's really one of the primary defenses for ransomware is to back up your things. It's okay if they encrypt it because you have it. The only real ramification is the availability and uptime of the systems that are temporarily compromised. So luckily, I don't believe that they were affected by the Maze ransomware or any of that doxware that leaks and exfiltrates the data. But Mattel basically was up and online very, very quickly. Now, this is interesting. A new news as of October, or no, it was announced today actually, but as of October 10th, Barnes & Noble has been a victim of a cybersecurity attack, which resulted in unauthorized, unlawful access to certain Barnes & Noble corporate systems. They are ensuring that the data is encrypted, salted, and not accessible. So I think that we're good there. But yeah, Barnes & Noble just announced a disclosure or a security breach. Any thoughts on that? All right. Well, yeah, go ahead.
There was like it was like 2 weeks ago. It was right as the hospitals were trying to see a lot more cases. I remember seeing a bunch of news about like 200 different ransomware attacks on like different health providers, hospitals. Although I haven't seen anything since.
Yeah, I heard the same thing. In fact, I'm part of the InfraGard distribution list, and they were saying the same thing, that there were massive campaigns against healthcare organizations. Which, think about it. What is also happening right now that's basically hamstringing the entire world? It's COVID. So they realize that of all the different industries that are vulnerable right now, targeting hospitals really is the one that have the biggest chance of probably paying the ransom. So that's just incorrigible. That's plain evil. But yeah, I mean that's the way of times now. But yeah, good call, Mai. They're definitely targeting hospitals.
Wasn't it Krebs that released the information about that, and everyone got mad at him for releasing what could be highly sensitive data?
Most people hate Krebs anyway.
Yeah.
Krebs is a great advocate for security, and the work that he does very much so outweighs some of the actions that he's done in the past. Doxing Not Dan, for one, was something I thought was inappropriate. Disclosing sensitive information like that as well. So, and funny enough, gosh, what ransomware was it? Oh, Lizard Squad. I don't know if you guys know Malware Must Die. This is a Japanese national that reverse engineers malware. Had specific information about the Lizard Squad DDoS syndicate, and vastly differed from what Krebs was saying. So I don't know. I just thought that Krebs may or may not have hit the nail on the head on some of his journalism, you know?
On the Barnes and Noble attack, so now people may know what I read on my Nook a decade ago.
Exactly. That's the thing is luckily, again, that I wouldn't think that, you reading 50 Shades of Grey is really that sensitive of information. We know, but yeah, I'd be curious.
You read the dump?
The
No.
dump?
No.
But yeah, I'm curious to see what sort of information was actually disclosed in the data breach, so I'm sure we'll find that out. All right. Well, that concludes the news piece of today's Fire Talks Online. I was originally going to have Hacker213 do another presentation, but he's unable to make it today. So I have a ton of different things I wanted to show you all today. The first thing I wanted to show you is a DIY project that I recently did. Let me grab it here. So I've been doing a lot of recorded demos and speaking into the camera. And so what I've created was a teleprompter. So let's see here. So what I did was I have a regular sized binder. Took an 8x10 piece of glass from the dollar store, cut it in, and that's it. All you need to do is take a piece of wire. I just used a coat hanger that I cut up. Let me see if I can grab it. There we go. Alright, so I just used this little piece of wire here, run it in through the hole that I created. There we go. And now it props at a 45-degree angle. So in addition to just a tablet computer, you can just put it in here. There's different teleprompter apps that are very, very nice in doing this. Let's see here. Hold on. It's upside down, so I want to show you what it looks like when it's actually running. So just give me a second here. Ugh. Oh, that's why. All right.
And you just dropping your webcam or whatever directly behind the glass and then covering it up to stop the light?
Yes, basically it's just a matter of this. Can y'all see the words?
I only
Just
see
about,
two squares rotating.
Really?
Are you streaming your camera too, or just?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, he's not sharing the desktop. He's just showing his webcam.
Just the webcam, yeah. So basically, if you see the words, it's oh, there we go. So you can kind of see the words coming across. It's actually Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. So
Nicely done, sir.
So yes, y'all have been rickrolled, but that's the teleprompter. Total out the door cost was like less than $3. So if you're curious, let me know and I can teach you how to make one.
Cool. Wait, where'd Wirefall go?
I'm sure he'll be back.
I want to introduce him to the guy that is in charge of the UNT cybersecurity. Oh, there he is. Wirefall.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep. Coming in again. Yep, yeah, we hear you.
I wasn't getting any video on the other, so I had to switch back to the other browser.
Ah, well, you missed me rickrolling everybody with the teleprompter. So the next thing I want to show you guys, we talked last time about cloud hacking and kind of was polling you all for whether or not you thought that was a viable thing to talk about. I'm going to share my screen here and show you what I did. I mentioned the Capital One breach earlier. This is basically me replaying the Capital One breach. So I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see, screen. There we go. So can y'all all see my screen?
I can see it.
Yeah.
All right, so Basically, legal told me I couldn't use the actual Cap One logos, but we actually skinned the entire site and it looked amazing. So we kind of did an Uber kitten of method of just kind of manipulating it ever so slightly. But what you can see here is a website that's got a cross-site request forgery vulnerable web app. So by just changing the URL, you can actually get a lot of information. In this circumstance, we're getting the security role of the web app. And so using this over-provisioned... Go ahead, Jonathan.
I think you're sharing one screen and you're demoing the other in the other screen.
Oh, no! All right, so let me replay this. Stop my screen sharing.
Say that I have Periscope running on another browser, so I can watch to make sure everything's working properly, and I'm watching it just fine there.
All right, so let's see. Oh yeah, I put it on the wrong one. My apologies, guys. All right, so now you should see the video. Do you all see the Cyberbank of Trust?
I do.
Excellent. Okay. So let me get this real quick. All right. So what you see here is just a cross-site request forgery vulnerable website. Like I mentioned earlier, by just changing the URL, you're able to exfiltrate some data from that. There's a metadata service, 169.254. 169.254, yeah. And that's actually a metadata service that runs on the cloud platform that will then spit out all these different metadata functions. So once we put in our role into this URL, we can actually get all the secret key, the AWS key, the session token, everything that you need to basically connect to the VM that's running up in that cloud. So in this circumstance, we're getting in, let's see here, we're editing our AWS CLI tools. So we pop in the key, the secret key, we pop in our session token here, put in the region of the VM. Let's see here, so it's doing that. Text as our output format. And then we can execute our in-game, really. At this point, we're updating the session token. Basically, you just put it as a session or a global variable. And in this situation, we're just doing a dump of an S3 bucket. So we list the S3 buckets that are available. We download the S3 bucket once we see that there's some content in it. So we did that, and now we download it, and boom, I've just dumped the whole S3 bucket by getting in via that vulnerable web app. So in this circumstance, it's a bunch of wallpapers, but in this case of AWS, I'm sorry, Cap One's breach, they were having a lot more sensitive data in there. So yeah, good times, right? So
very cool.
Do you mind if I make a quick announcement?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. This is Professor Morozov. He teaches cryptography. Wirefall, you're the creator of Dallas Hackers Association, and Isaac is the founder of DC214. It's definitely a great moment to like network with each other and just get resources for both school and each other.
All right.
Community is community, regardless of where it is.
Right.
And that's why I love FTO, is because we're not bound by geography. So definitely network, and that's why we keep this. That's why we keep this Discord up running and all the time.
Yeah. When COVID first hit, I was actually talking to people from Scotland just because I was following the DEF CON groups. And they had talks from Africa and Scotland, Boston, yada, yada, yada.
Very cool. So if y'all are still watching my screen here, anybody know what this is?
Parrot OS?
That's right, Parrot OS. This is now my new favorite distribution. This is, in my opinion, a fantastic alternative to Kali Linux. It's got all the tools you need in order to facilitate a pen test. It does look to be like an Ubuntu variant, but it's very, very nice. I really enjoy this this distribution. It's got everything you need, again, to do a pen test. So if you haven't checked out Parrot OS, it's fantastic. The only beef that I have with it is that they don't have a distribution for ARM processors. So whereas you could throw Kali on a Raspberry Pi, you can't do that with Parrot. Has anybody used Parrot in the past, and what were your thoughts about the distribution?
It's definitely different. I've also used Black Arch, Kali. I tried using Pen2, but it was too confusing. Each one has a different style. What I liked about Parrot was it didn't just focus on pen testing. Like, you open up the web browser for the first time, and it has, hey, learn cryptography, learn programming, learn yada yada yada.
Yeah, that is true. It is. They also have distributions that are more user based. They're not security or pen testing related. So the fact that it's more teaching cryptography and some of the basics of information security, I think, is a really powerful thing as well. So that is Parrot OS, folks. Let me close that out.
Also, I heard I was talking with TJ Knoll the other day, and he doesn't like it because there's still a lot of the Kali repositories.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And the vast majority of them are outdated.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? Let's see. Before I kind of jump into the next thing I was gonna show off, anybody have any topics that they want to cover? Any questions? Anything like that?
Besides the UNT thing, like I said, Morzov's a blue guy right above me.
Alright, so I wanted to just show this is pretty cool. Anybody use the blue light blocking glasses? I just wanted to show that it actually does work. I use them pretty much most of the time when I'm in front of a computer, just for eye strain purposes. But I wanted to show you real quick. With a regular flashlight, you can see that it can see through the glasses fairly well. However, I have got a black light here that does emit some blue wavelength, and you can actually see how it is blocking the light coming from the flashlight. So I'm actually seeing everything in a very interesting color, while the glasses are filtering the blue wavelengths. So with that, who does any sort of eye health while you're in front of your computers?
Just night shift.
Night shift?
What?
Yep.
What's health?
Well,
And that's
Uber
where we
Kitten,
squint at the screens in the dark.
tell us about that. What does it do, and how does it work? What operating systems is it on? How do you set it up? Tell us about it.
Windows 10 has nightlight built in nowadays. So you just tell it to follow your sunrise, sunset. You set the amount of orange you're willing to tolerate, and it's pretty good.
Yep. This is a feature that's in all mobile phone platforms, from iOS to Android. They have the ability to do that as well. So if you're doing any sort of late night or dark viewing, I highly encourage you to use something like that. It will help let you sleep better. It's less eye strain. And considering that we're all kind of security computer centric folks, you may or may not realize this, but your eyes are probably some of the most important things that you must maintain. Excuse me. I highly recommend that you take constant or frequent breaks. Use blue light filtering glasses when appropriate. Set the night mode within your operating systems of both your PCs and your phones, because I don't want you to do what happened to me. So those of you that are in university, I was doing some COBOL programming when I was back at the University of Texas at Arlington. And if you work with any command lines, which a lot of us do, the black and green screen, I stared at this screen doing COBOL programming for about 24 hours straight. And it actually jacked with the rods and cones in my eyes. And those are the parts of your eyes that decipher color. And so literally for about 6 months, I thought it was going to be permanent. So did the optometrist. Everything that I saw was in a shade of pink. I literally was wearing rose-colored glasses. Luckily, something like that healed over time, but I can't say that if it happened to me again, it would do that. So again, I can't stress this enough. Take care of yourself physically, mentally, and yeah, definitely take care of your eyes. So frequent breaks.
Yeah, and in that breaks is not just focusing close but far, changing your where you're focusing on.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's a big part of eye health. Make it part of your movement routine, that you're getting up every half an hour or so just to move around. That's something we should all be doing. And then also step outside, stare far away, go back and forth between close and far. It's really important for eye health.
Probably a good idea to stretch, maybe touch your toes, do a little bit of physical activity as well. Like I said, health is more important than you. The older you get, the more important health is to you. So if there's one thing I could tell people that are in their 20s, don't let yourself fall apart. If I could have gone to the gym every day, I would have. I would have definitely done that differently. So take advantage of your fitness while you can. All right. I still have more content, folks, but I would love to hear somebody else. If y'all got something you want to introduce or chat about, if there's a topic you want to discuss, let me know. By the way, I see we got a few more people dialing in.
I'm doing, what's it called? The dev community, mostly web developers for some reason. They have this challenge called 100 Days of Code. And all the time I meet people, leads-ass people, like 20 and 30 years experience, that always tell me that they suck at code. So I highly, highly, highly encourage that if you think that, just keep coding constantly for 3 months.
100 Days of Code. That's fantastic. I know of the same concept for authors are doing a National Month of Writing or NaNoWriMo or something. But it's that 100 days of consistently doing something. Not only increases your skill set, but builds that as a habit. So very cool.
I've also seen for the Cyber Mentor, I think it was 30 days of popping shells or 30 days root, something like that. For people are coming in new.
Has anybody ever tried anything like that as far as building your habits and whatnot? I don't know about you all, but remember 2 months ago when I introduced that Hard 75 program that I was doing? Yeah, it didn't work out so hot. I got about 51 days in until my wife told me to stop. So, yeah, when the boss tells you to stop, you got to stop. So, let's see.
I don't recall what it's the name of the gimmick or whatever. I mean, this a person who developed it, it's written books and does seminars on it. But what I found really helpful is you do a countdown from 5. When you decide, you make it that when you get to 1, you're going to do something. Whether it's get up in the morning, you're tired, you don't want to get out of bed, no matter what you do, you just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and your
Just
body
do it.
will do it. And your body will do it. It's really cool. And I actually have a it's weird how just that simple step can change everything, because otherwise you're having to decide when to do it, and you're going to put it off if you don't want to do it. But if you do the countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's there. You just do it.
Well,
Yeah.
Wirefall,
Fairly
send me
effective.
whoever that is, because that sounds really interesting. And
She does a great seminar. Yeah, it's really interesting.
That's, it's funny because I do that same thing, only when it's regarding to getting out of bed every morning. But I never thought of applying that.
Fair use of it, yeah.
Trust me, I'm a lazy guy. I don't want to wake up in the morning, and I have to literally force myself out of bed, and that's how I do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it. But applying that to all the other facets and decisions in your day-to-day life, I mean, especially the difficult ones. Oh, that's a fantastic concept.
I've heard of a handful of them. One is called the Pomodoro technique. Get like a egg timer or a tomato-shaped timer, and then set it for 30 minutes. And for those 30 minutes, you have to focus. There's also this one ADHD channel on YouTube that has an entire video dedicated on just this. There's this thing called mental labor, where a kid didn't want to do his math homework, so he just sat in front of it and just mentally he was preparing to do it, but his parents got frustrated, not realizing what was going on, and just told him, "Hey, just do it." Playing music's another one. There's a crap ton of them.
Well, I think anything that can help facilitate better productivity is, in and of itself, a form of hacking. It's process hacking, it's body hacking, human hacking. It definitely falls in line with what we're here to discuss today. All right, so I've got another thing I want to introduce to you all today. This is, you may have seen this on my Twitter channel, but this is a Ponagochi. Has anybody seen one of these?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is a lot of fun, guys and gals. This is a Raspberry Pi Zero. You can just see it in the back here. But, take a look with my green screen. It's actually filtering it out. That's really cool. But basically, this is a Raspberry Pi Zero with a e-paper front. And it works just like an old Tamagotchi of the past. You have to feed it, keep it happy, but rather than feeding it, nothing, little fake food, this actually eats Wi-Fi packets. So it's constantly reaching out, finding wireless networks and de-authing them, intercepting the handshakes, and then saves them to disk. So at some point, I can then take the handshakes, convert them into a hashcat format, and brute force them offline. So at this point, I have I've harvested 116 different handshakes of 34 different networks. So this is what I think this does is help me in some ways as far as getting physically fit. I try to do this and take it for a walk. I go a walk around the neighborhood and just see how many handshakes that I can intercept. So we were kind of talking about, taking care of yourself and whatnot. Get yourself a Ponagochi. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, and do war driving at the same time.
Essentially, that's what this is. It's just a slimmer version of running Kismet or whatever else. But yeah, that exactly. War Drive. Grab yourself one of these. It's really cheap to build one of these. You do a little bit of soldering, getting the e-paper onto the board here of the Raspberry Pi. But just get a little battery pack, and this thing is your new best friend.
Oh, a classic one I've seen on Make magazine is pirate radio with just slapped on a bike and just ride around.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, well, I can't believe I've gone through all my content in 30 minutes, so we may be ending this a bit premature today unless we have more presentations.
Yeah, and I don't
Anybody-
have a presentation. This is Neural. Hey, what's
Hey,
up,
Neural.
everybody? And happy post-election day. We're all
Yes.
still here. The world hasn't been nuked. I missed the part. I hopped in a little
Not
bit
yet.
late, and I wanted to actually. You mentioned some of the security laws that kind of were on ballots. What was the one that you brought up?
The security one's on a ballot. I don't think we really covered that. We just talked about how there hasn't been a lot of security breach news relative to the election, except for a robo-dial that is affecting a lot of we think the Northeast, and it's basically telling people to stay at home, which could be, I don't know. I'm running
Fear mongering.
Yeah, fear mongering.
The number I saw was about 800,000, wasn't it?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's legit. Yeah, I wanted to kind of talk. So one of the things that was on the ballot in California was for money to stand up a commission for CCPA. So the California Consumer Privacy Act. California is leading the way in really possibly forcing a GDPR type commission in the state and possibly even at the federal level. Something to keep an eye on and watch, right? Because that's really interesting. In particular, the privacy landscape as it kind of is starting to become more and more demanded throughout several of the states. So I believe there were 5 different states outside of California. California already had it. New York already has some.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan has some to some degree. But there were 5 additional states that had privacy security laws on the ballot. So, it's be interesting to kind of watch what this landscape's going to look like across the U.S. in the next few years.
All right,
just
quick
to
thing,
kind of
Pony.
pick that
Do
up.
you mind muting yourself? I can hear every single click you're doing, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. So, Neural, what when you say it's on the ballot, is it for approving that legislation or what?
Yeah, so the CCPA one, where it was on the California at the state level for approval for funding to stand up a commission.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it was really oddly worded. It didn't specifically say that it was for a commission. It said for creating oversight, capabilities.
So enforcement maybe?
Yeah, so they're going to start looking at potentially doing the enforcement side. And that's what that commission is ultimately what we understand from talking with Privacy Council that really dug into it in California, is that they're expecting that there will be enforcement within the next, because it actually did get passed, so there was approval, or it was voted on, and it actually, the funding has actually been secured. So now it's a matter of kind of, I guess, them laying that framework. And what the privacy lawyers are saying is that probably within the next 6 to 8 months, we'll start to see the framework of what punitive natures will be applied to companies that don't follow or comply to CCPA.
Well, funny enough, I've read the CCPA and it is so vague. It is
70% GDPR.
Yeah,
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's the American version of GDPR, but there's no specific compliance requirements. It's like protect the private data, but it doesn't say how.
Yeah, that's a lot like GDPR, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How much? Yeah, it's really, there's no prescriptions behind it. It's just you have to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't put anything. So for those that are on the call that aren't familiar with kind of GDPR, I think I'll take a moment to kind of just at a high level explain it. It is what is required of companies that process data, personally identifiable information. That's IP address. We have to start there, right? Because of the inherent nature of web technologies. So IP addresses are collected on every website. And if a European individual in your business, if a European individual hits your business website, you have to provide them notice that their information. So that's why you're seeing all these pop-ups now that is, hey, here's your cookie, adjust your cookie settings, right? All the tracking notifications. So that's the notification element that you're seeing. That's driven and has been driven and mandated by both GDPR and CCPA. The second part of it is that the company that collects the data has to provide on their website what they are doing with that data. And they have to provide clear instruction as to how that data is being used.
You can only use it in that intended purpose. You can't reuse it after the fact.
Right. Yep, exactly. And then the third part of it is there's really 4 functions to it, but I labeled the third part kind of A and B. The third part of it is you have to provide an opt-out capability.
Yes.
And so that's why if you click on, and there's multiple ways to do this. The more advanced companies have actually given you the opportunity to go click on and opt out right on the site and write in that notification, and also manage the cookies and the tracking elements that are out there.
Yeah, I believe that's the right to be forgotten clause.
The right to be forgotten clause. Yep. And then there's the 3B is where I call it, is that they have to provide a means for a consumer or an individual to hit your site, a way to request what data you actually have on them. And then there's the fourth part of it, which is the requirement to really just destroy that data upon request. And you have to provide evidence of that destruction. And so that's really GDPR at a really high level. There's a lot more nuances.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't tell you how.
Exactly.
It's considered satisfactory.
And I think that's a positive in that the what should be legislated. The how, you don't want that to become canon in legislation, right. In that you're having political decision makers that have no idea about technology then making things that may not be good decisions. So how?
And that's the scary thing about the CCPA element is we don't know what power that has been given to the commission. The lawyers don't. The general consensus that's been driven out of the CCA piece is that they don't know if there's going to be prescriptive natures that are actually going to be laid in once this commission gets stood up. California may forge a new path, right? And that's something that we're worried about.
Well, I kind of, it's interesting, Wirefall. I kind of feel the exact opposite versus I would like that prescriptive guidance because many organizations may put subpar controls thinking that they're compliant to CCPA when in reality they're not. Also from the perspective of a security vendor, it kind of helps as well.
Gotcha with that is that if you put into legislature that you have to delete it using technology X or method Y, in 6 months down the line, someone says, "Oh, there's a bug in that product." Now you have to go through the legislature again.
Well, I'm not saying per product, but I mean, I think we can all agree that organizations need to have some level of firewalling, right? We don't say you're using Palo Alto.
And I would even take that a little bit further and say, I don't agree with it being prescriptive, but if it were to be, from your perspective, is in a reasonable time frame is pretty vague, right? And that could be kind of scary if you think about it, right? Because if it's a site you visit regularly, let's throw Amazon out there, for example. I'm going to just pick on them because everybody has hit or shopped on Amazon, right? Reasonable time frame to Amazon could be 6 years, after you make that request. Now, I don't know if they should prescribe the technology, but maybe the expectations around how and when the data is actually like expunged from the systems.
Yeah, give
or
a specific timeline versus a prescriptive technology control.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that, definitely.
What's up?
Yeah,
I'm still
it's
working
interesting because CCPA, the
Sorry
thought
about
is,
that. Daughter had to come in real quick. Can y'all hear me okay?
No worries. Yeah, the thought is that potentially CCPA,
hold on one
there
second,
is
folks.
going to be potentially prescriptive technological expectations. Like Rainmaker was just saying, you have to have a firewall that has DDoS mitigation, anti-malware, et cetera, right? And they're going to start defining feature sets of the technologies.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and then you have something like serverless or whatever. How do you implement these things in a different technology platform? I don't like the idea of technology being prescriptive, but definitely there needs to be direction, less ambiguous as far as reporting or what's expected for the organization to do. Yeah.
One other thing about CCPA and GDPR that I find fascinating is the storage of the private personal information. Specific to GDPR, it can't leave a GDPR country. So Microsoft has basically tried to circumvent that by expanding their data centers in Ireland versus taking it back to the United States. I mean, I get it, but I think with data security and encryption and everything else, I mean, that should be less of a priority to me.
Well, I think that's a perfect example of as far as the data at rest and the requirement to protect it. Let's say we're talking about encryption. You don't want it saying you must use 128-bit encryption.
Right.
Because now let's say all of a sudden we have advances in attacks on crypto. Everybody feels they're safe because they're using what is required.
But is a minimum viable product something that we couldn't strive for at least? I mean, that's what compliance is all about, right?
Well, and that's
not through the legislature, though. I mean, the successful compliance efforts that I've seen really have been more industry driven, like PCI versus HIPAA.
True.
That's where they're thinking they're going to bake in the industry requirements, like it really extrapolate kind of like NIST expectations and start trying to apply that through this governing body.
Well,
it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. And I don't know are y'all familiar with the meditation app Calm? It's kind of like Headspace.
I've seen adverts.
Well, they sponsored for one of the news things that was showing all the political stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say they've been playing lots of ads on the live news, the live election coverage, which I'm sure is a target audience.
Oh, I believe so. That's hilarious, actually.
Well, did you see the uptick in alcohol sales?
Yes, and junk food.
I was drinking last night. Yep.
But nachoing it out, man.
Nachos and politics. I think that's a hell of a combo. I'm definitely down for that. But what I was saying about Calm is they have what's a concept called or a thing called sleep stories that you can listen to that ultimately will put you to sleep. So they're particularly like monotone and kind of boring. One of which is the entire reading of the GDPR document. So.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Subliminal learning, dude.
Exactly. Learning through osmosis.
Yeah, exactly.
Subliminal.
While you're asleep.
Yeah, that would be if they like put in different shit while you're listening to the GDPR.
Start hacking the mind, dude. Neural phantom elements, bro.
There you go. Neural phantom.
It's like the pop scares, right? You know, you're watching a show, and then all of a sudden there's like this just like real. What movie was that in where there was like a brief pop in of the dude holding his penis?
That would be Fight Club.
Yeah, there you go.
And then you've got the movie. God, it was Rowdy Roddy Piper. It was a Among Us. No, that's a game. What was that movie? Obey, consume.
They live.
They live.
They live. That's it. That's it. Yes, not Among Us. What am I thinking? But yeah,
That's
the
a great
subliminal
game, though.
marketing. That yes. If you haven't seen They Live, oh my gosh, please watch that. That is your homework for today's FTO.
Yeah, and I've got another topic that I kind of want to bring up as well. And Hoop, you kind of heard this on the last conversation that we were on.
Just one thing before we move on. I clicked on a headline just yesterday where Moby has released a playlist of his ambient music to calm himself and go to sleep by. So it's like 10 hours long. And it's downloadable on Spotify and all that. It's not nearly as amusing as reading GDPR, but it's, if you want a non-funny alternative, there you go.
My method of sleep is the Ben Shapiro show. If you want to send me to sleep straight away, listen to that. Oh,
I wanted to mention something on CCPA real quick because since I moved to Cali a few months ago, I have been issuing probably close to 50 CCPA either opt-out, requesting data, or deletion requests, and it's a goddamn mess. It's so painful. You have to go to every single company, every single privacy policy, every little company, and every data processing company, except for certain data processing companies. It's almost impossible for like a normal person to do this who can't just spend hours and hours going through everything. And about a third of the places that I go to, they have so few requests that they don't even know how to process them, or they mess it up, or they have a privacy policy that links to a website that doesn't exist, or says to contact an email address, and the email address says to go to the privacy policy. It's a complete mess.
It's obscurity for a reason. If you don't ever receive the request, they don't have to do anything with it.
that's a good point.
That's like going into the doctor's office and you have to sign the HIPAA release,
Right.
and it says that they provided their HIPAA document. So I always ask for it, and they can never find it.
Yep.
Ooh, that's going to be my new thing.
Yeah, I'm not signing something that says I've done something that I have not done. So, yeah. But when I bought my house, they hated me. Yeah.
I bet if you're taking that approach, absolutely. Please produce all these documents that I'm actually signing for.
Exactly.
Oh,
Reading the fine print comes in handy. If you ever read some, I'm sure that if you've probably seen these before and not read them thoroughly, but EULAs, you might find some good gems in the middle of a EULA if you're not paying attention, or if you're paying attention to it.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Neural. Go ahead, Wirefall.
I was going to say I've seriously thought about putting a EULA under my doorbell. My ringing doorbell. You agree to?
I love it.
I'm just thinking of all the fun you could have with that.
Content Altbeer released Hardware Hacking Village content today.
Oh yeah, well tell us about it.
Honestly, I haven't done too much with it yet, but I picked up my Hardware Hacking Village pack, so all kinds of fun toys in there. I don't know if you guys all follow Altbeer, but dude is super active with content. And my problem when I go to all these conferences is I never have time to sit down with the Hardware Hacking Village because I'm just never willing to commit like hours to soldering when I could be, at all these talks and seeing people I haven't seen in a while. So I think it's a really awesome opportunity to go. I don't know if he has any kits left. If not, he published what he put in there. But he's got hours and hours of pre-recorded content, which is great if you're spending more time at home like me. So, just a good chance to kind of catch up on all the stuff I never got around to at B-Sides.
he has a crap ton of kits. I was one of the few that actually went to pick up a kit from him. And also, electrical engineering major. I can tell you soldering is kind of overrated. That being said, my hand is full of burns and cuts and crap.
That's why it's overrated, huh?
And on B-sides, Pack Isaac want to promote this weekend.
Yeah, I was about to segue to that. Isaac, why don't you take a moment to talk about B-sides? I know we're putting him on the spot.
Typical Isaac fashion.
$5 says he's asleep.
You do have to unmute yourself, Isaac.
I think it's a purposeful not wanting to speak.
Well, why don't I take a moment to kind of explain? We've got B-Sides DFW coming up this weekend. I believe this will be a digitally attended event since, thank you, COVID-19. We've got some great speakers lined up. It's going to be a fantastic event. And I love the fact, like you said, Ben, that we've got some physical elements of it. Having that hardware hacking kit and the badges really kind of makes it almost like that physical con that we so dearly miss. So, and in fact, this is one of the only conferences that I've heard of that's doing that aspect of it. So I don't know of any other conferences. Y'all might know some, but that's just amazing. Do we know what platform it's going to be delivered on?
Yeah.
Discord, right?
No, it's not on. I don't think it's on Discord.
Multiple streams that'll be actually flowing. Isaac's working through using a service called Restream.io.
That's exactly what I'm using right now, actually.
Yeah, it's so he's looking at it, piping it out through Periscope, YouTube. I'm not sure of the other platforms. Discord for sure. I mean, that's kind of the base, right?
Yeah, that's essentially what we're doing here. Is we're committing we're doing this in Discord, but it's being live streamed to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, LinkedIn. I mean, so if you haven't checked out Restream.io, it's a fantastic platform.
Yeah,
for the DC 214 meetups, we usually use the B-Sides DFW chat room and Christ, what's the Cisco one called? The Cisco version of Zoom.
WebEx.
Yep. Or at least I think it's WebEx.
Yeah, Isaac said that his audio dropped, or he would have given his shameless plug.
No worries. I want to introduce to you all the newest member to the Rainmaker family.
Aww.
Puppy!
Yes,
Nice.
this is Piper. She's about 2.5 pounds, and she is all sorts of spunky little dogs. So she is awesome, and we've enjoyed having her. So she snuck into my office, so that's why we're kind of letting her do her thing.
That's awesome. Our new additions are my grandson's doing a science project, and he just hatched 2 chicks, and we have 2 more coming.
Excellent. How did he go about hatching them? Was it just the standard heat lamp, or what was the method?
It was an incubator. It maintained temperature and humidity, and it had an automatic egg roller, so you didn't have to worry about that either.
Very cool. What do you guys plan on doing once the chicks are no longer chicks?
We have friends that live up in the country that already raise them, so that's where they'll be going.
I was going to say baked, rotisserie, fried.
if there are roosters,
Chicken nuggies.
Yeah. If there are roosters, yes.
He's going to make chicken nuggies. I mean, we've all seen him posting pics of him cooking on Twitter, so...
Yeah, in fact, Wirefall, I think we got more feedback from your cooking than anything else. So if you ever want to do a hacking cooking, we would totally be down for that.
Absolutely.
In fact, let me see if I can find this book. Yes, found it. If anybody
I know
Go
exactly
ahead.
Which one you're probably going to do. Which one?
The Hacker's Cookbook.
That's not the one I was thinking of, but yeah. Awesome.
Which one were you thinking of?
There's one that's all about the science of cooking. I can't remember who put it out, but it was really interesting. The science behind the Maillard effect on meat. And
Harold McGee?
I'm not sure. I'd have
Does
to
it
look
have
it up.
Adam Savage in as well?
I believe so, yeah.
Shoot. I've got it. I'm trying to remember the name as well.
Is it Cooking for Geeks?
Yes, that's it.
Jeff Potter. Yeah, that one. It's good. Great for sous vide, like temperatures and stuff, and understanding the chemical reactions.
I want to do sous vide.
It is about the only way I do meat other than smoking anymore.
How do you get it lit? Oh wait, that's something else.
Hey, Ray,
Yeah,
if you need a slot for December, you can go ahead and put me down. I'll do the talk I did last year of making kick-ass holiday desserts, man.
Hell yeah, definitely. I'll definitely put you down for hopefully some other day. But yeah, I don't think that we're gonna have DHA up and running before 2021. I was asking earlier, Wirefall, do you have any? There's still no ETA on bringing back the event, is there?
Talking with Whiskey, we are hoping at some point, depending on what the environment is like, of at least having a DHA for the 8th-year anniversary. That may be a socially distanced outdoor drive up. We don't know what that's going to look like. It'll depend on what the physical environment is at the time.
Okay. Well, let us know. We're more than happy to promote it because that's huge. And as soon as DHA is back up and online on the monthly basis, FTO will find another place because, yeah, we want to definitely prioritize DHA. But back to the Hackers Cookbook. I highly recommend you take a look at this. This was actually created by MZ Bat. The Devil's Voice and iHeart Malware. So if you know Sid Dragon or any of those folks, yeah, they're the ones that wrote this book. And my favorite one right here is Dual Core's Vodka Red Bull. 1 part vodka, 1 part Red Bull. Recipe, drink all the booze, hack all the things.
Nice.
So, very good. Any now, Neuro, you mentioned that you had something else you wanted to chit chat about.
Yeah, give me just a sec. I'm trying to get my headphones set up because I got to run into the store. But yeah, definitely. So with the release or really the uptick in single page applications, you guys there?
Yes.
So Java website, or single applications, right? So using JavaScript, actually, not Java, JavaScript to build websites, right? There's a challenge in the world right now with all the crawlers that are out there. And so there's been a pop-up of a middleware that is, there's a company called Rerenderer.io. And what they do is they're a SaaS platform that goes and actually grabs that Java, they take it back up, they process it into HTML, and you have a hook through API with them to whenever they see a bot actually hit your site and requesting kind of the layout for, really it's for search engine optimization. But what they do is they serve up that HTML from their infrastructure. So thinking through that, we now have this new middleware layer that is really kind of starting to present itself. And if we think about like Wayback Machine, or way back where there was archiving and caching of websites, it's the new modern elements of that to some degree. So, but what's really interesting is because it is JavaScript and there is the potentials for cross-site scripting, very high potentials because it is JavaScript formatted, that stuff gets cached. And so all of that cached element gets served up. So if there's malware served up or if there's cross-site vulnerability served up, even if so the customer or the user, the person that has the actual JavaScript one-page application or JavaScript website, if they actually have exploitable code, that'll get rendered up until they go resynchronize. There's not an auto resynchronization once it's rendered by the service. So it's not like you can put a timer on it to say like every update, every 5 minutes, whatever. So you could probably script that push and figure out how to do that. But by default, most companies aren't going to be aware of that. And so go hack the planet, dude, and put it out there. Start hacking through freaking search engine optimization. Rank your fucking malware to the top.
That is funny. Yeah, I can see how you can abuse that. And, you know, if I understand this correctly, you could take a malicious payload, cache it, and take it from there, right?
Yep. And so if you have DMCA or takedowns, or I can't say DMCA is the wrong one, but if you have, you know, forceful takedown of a malicious site, I mean, you can use it as your freaking drop points, right? You know, build your own distributed architecture for these Java one-pagers, and freaking, you know, the way that we're doing it now is it's sitting, you know, typically in a static HTML page. Well, hell, cache that and push that out through SEO, and freaking people are going to probably come across it. Just use keywords and get yourself ranked to hit the top trends, and dude, you could distribute some malware pretty damn fast.
That is scary.
Thank you, middleware. And more, you know, and more importantly, though, I mean, you know, that's abusing the middleware layer. But you know, I think it really leads credence into kind of from the hacker mindset, like, you know, how do we take and do something that it was not intended to do, right?
Well, that's a personification of it right there.
Right, and it's you know, now while that's on the I don't recommend and suggest that you go do that, that is a possibility that's out there. Let me throw my standard disclaimer that's there. So yeah, just as you're thinking about that, I mean, you could even, if you're doing some fun stuff and research, I highly recommend Pre-Renderer. They have an open source version, a free version that you can go play around with. You know, but I would start looking at, if you're a pen tester and you're looking at kind of these Java applications, the web applications that are out there, start looking at these third-party services providers that are, because it's a public API key. And so if you can, and one of the things that I identified, which is even more interesting, they're pulling and actually dumping all that to HTML for you, so they're already actually doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you, so you don't have to go pull down the JavaScript and go through it. You can get it in a raw HTML format and understand what's happening. And so if you can extrapolate the companies that may be using this with that public API key, which is really, now I will say this, they did have limits on how many requests that you could make per.
So there's rate limiting?
There's 3 per, I think there were 3 calls per every 15 minutes. So it's not terrible rate limiting, but there is some rate limiting there, right? So that it's not abused. But you could go pull down all this stuff so you don't have to go break apart the JavaScript yourself. They're already doing it for you from a pen tester's perspective.
That's fantastic. And I actually, do you guys, or do you remember Mr. Chin, Whiskey Neon's buddy?
Oh, yeah.
What is he up to, first off? I haven't seen, I think he moved off to like Temple, Texas or something, but do we know how they're doing?
Yes, I believe last I heard he's an AWS engineer.
Fantastic. Good for him. Mr. Chen actually did something I thought was fascinating as far as circumventing API rate limiting. Had multiple clients making the same API requests. So he had a pool that was round robin making the API requests. So any one of those would not be rate limited in order to kind of circumvent that process. I thought that was actually really fascinating.
Yeah, just use distributive capability.
Mm-hmm. And if you ever get a chance, Mr. Chin was able to, if you can, I don't know if there's you just reach out to him, but he basically was able to take advantage of Realtor.com and their API to basically be alerted to as soon as a property that's met his certain requirements. So he'd be the first to be notified of that property. The real estate market in Texas it's on fire. As far as how hot the properties are, they're being snatched up as soon as they hit the market, and so whoever can get the early bird getting the worm here is huge. And so the certain requirements were like within a certain radius of a particular school district, or how close. I think it was how close to a Whataburger. you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was a Jimmy John's, but
Okay.
yeah, I use that as a great example of what you can do when you're looking deeper into the into all these websites. To my non-technical friends, he lives up as a great example of what you can do when you know something.
Well, I miss Mr. Chin, and I miss the antics of Whiskey and Chin. So hopefully we'll get Chin back at some point.
That top was my first DHA.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That seems like I thought that you were. It feels like Uber Kitten he's always been with us. So I forget how. Yeah, that was. Was that at the family karaoke? Yeah, that was at family karaoke. It wasn't at the old location.
Mm-hmm.
I missed that bar in Richardson. What was it called?
Tavern on Main.
The Tavern on Main. That's right. Yeah, occasionally when I'm in Richardson, I'll stop in and grab a drink there, but they won't let you go upstairs like we used to. So anyway. Yeah, we're actually filling some good time today. I thought we were going to go 30 minutes, but we're approaching hour and 15. So, anybody else have something they want to talk about before we get to the grand finale?
I saw an interesting article on Ars Technica that was a little bit of a clickbait thing about how your encrypted messaging apps are leaking data.
Really?
Well, yeah, and a little bit of a clickbait headline, but the gist of it is they were summarizing a study of encrypted apps that if they give you previews of links, they're actually sending out information to other websites that can be harvested.
Yeah. So it's basically those requests are being tracked versus the...
yeah.
Okay. I can see that.
That's a little bit deeper and more inside baseball than I know anything about. But, Signal, which I try to get everybody to go to as near as I can tell, seems to block that, and a lot of others do, and they said a handful of others actually sorted that out. But and there's also some amount of downloading of information that they store from that website.
Yeah, the Signal app, though, I will say this. If it asks you to verify yourself with your PIN, that PIN is actually a reassociation for them to understand what contacts you have in your Signal your Signal contact book.
So you should not do that?
What happens, so when you set that PIN, the whole purpose of that PIN is to give them the ability to pull that up. Now, they store it encrypted, but they are taking that data and putting it up in their cloud.
Oh.
But it's also end-to-end encrypted, so
what's that?
They don't have access to it. It's end-to-end encrypted, so they don't have access to it.
They don't have access to it now, and I mean it's just a matter of time, as with everything. But still, your contacts and their phone numbers and information can be associated, right?
It's not quite. Like it's so you've got your name and your profile, like that you put on your Signal profile. So those are available. And for each phone number, they do that one-way hash or whatever they do. There's a one-way hash process for each of those contacts. So again, it's not uploading every phone number. It is kind of iffy, but
yeah,
I'd like
to know more.
And the purpose was right. The purpose was to allow moving from device to device. Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
Well,
I wouldn't call that a leak, but it's something that's interesting.
Yeah, you need to be cognizant of it. That it's not just end to end, but there is some data going back to the mothership, but it's at least protected.
So we think.
Until we get a data breach notification from Signal, yeah. But again, I trust that of all the different applications out there, they're probably one of the few that are actually taking the security of their data seriously, considering the premise of their business.
Or until the FBI comes knocking on their door, i.e. hush mail, cough, cough.
Yeah, I mean,
crypto is pretty fantastic. The double Ragged axolotl protocol, it's solid. It's very complicated.
Solid. It's pretty solid, man. I mean, I don't fear. That's why I use Signal, right? Because even with that, I'm still like, the protocol that they're based on is pretty solid.
Looks like Renegade is trying to get in, but not getting the Discord server. If anybody can reach out to Renegade and send them the Discord, or just even send them the website, FireTalksOnline.com.
Yeah, the key on the website was actually expired. The invitation.
Oh, really?
Expired.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I was having issues getting in earlier.
I'll have to figure that out and fix it, but I'll give a more appropriate link and invite. But yeah, we'll probably have something from Renegade next month if possible.
Isaac, I think we heard you.
Y'all make two fundamental assumptions that are completely and utterly flawed.
All right.
A, you assume that I have any idea what the hell I'm doing. B, you assume that I even have a microphone plugged in.
I just saw your name light up. I'm like, wait, he has a green circle around him. He's actually speaking. Oh no.
So yeah, it's now working in this browser. And I missed 9/10 of what you said because once I flipped over to my settings to attempt to allow the mic, the sound cut out. But yes, yeah, that's the one. B-Sides DFW is this weekend. As previously mentioned, the hardware hacking content dropped this morning. Should be announcing the Discord server maybe Friday evening, but we'll find out. And 12 talks, 2 CFPs, 2 CTFs, some sort of scavenger hunty type game within Discord. And if you didn't get pre-registered, I believe everything sold out within a few hours. The network penetration testing workshop, Phil is pivoting from web app to network pen test this time. So it's a completely fresh content. And yeah, that's all I got.
Well, you mentioned Philip Wiley. Phil, great guy. I think we've talked about him in the past. He runs Pwn School. He recently released a new book. So if you haven't taken a look, the title slips my mind at the moment. Does anybody has anybody?
The Pen Tester Blueprint, and
right.
He co-authored it with Kim Crawley.
Even better. So yeah, Kim Crawley and Philip Wiley. Definitely take a look. Give it a read. And more importantly, do him a favor. Review it. 5 stars. We got to support our own folks. So buy the book. Give it a read. And yeah, 5 stars and a glowing review would be greatly appreciated.
When the Kindle version came out, the last stats were #1 in network security on Amazon.
Badass. That's awesome. I wish them the best of success with that.
Along those lines, George Finley from SMU also has a new book that just dropped in October. Oh crap, and I'm drawing a blank on what it's called.
This is really where we need Jason Kohler. I don't see him on the line today, but
Right.
my God, that man is amazing at hunting down everything that we talk about, posting the links. For the record, since we are streaming to multiple services, I will update show notes and put them into the YouTube and other platforms notes. So at least we'll have a record of his book, links to B-Sides DFW, along with the news articles that we discussed today. So fear not, we will have these links towards the end of the event.
And another podcast I've really been enjoying is the Hacker Book Club. You can find them on Twitter. They meet weekly on Tuesdays. That they pick a book and then discuss it. They the last few have been the Tribe of Hackers series.
Mm-hmm.
I was on one of those, but I think they've now moved on to She Hacks Purple's new book. So they read the book, they bring on the authors where they can. They actually had one of the few they recorded. It's usually just live, but one of the few they recorded, they had half of the CDC, Cult of the Dead Cow, on.
Wow.
In a live, yeah.
Sorry,
discussion.
I've been so attentive to COVID. When I hear CDC, that Cult of the Dead Cow doesn't come to mind.
Yeah, the original.
They have Beto.
Oh yeah,
they did not have. They had some of the members. They had at least one of the members in a Beto shirt, but no, they did not have that.
Oh, that's funny.
So he was represented at least. All right, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
For those of you that don't know, Beto O'Rourke, previous presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, state senator, I believe, maybe House, I'm not sure, but
Yeah, he's a congressman out of El Paso for the state house. He went for the House, not the state, for the House. He went for Senate and came within 2-point-something percentage points of
wow,
Cruz.
That's right. He was up against Cruz, and Cruz, yeah, man, I do not care for Cruz one bit. But anyway, this is not meant to be a political thing. We're basically, let's remove all politics. But yeah, Beto O'Rourke was actually a member of Cult of the Dead Cow when he was probably, 17? He kind of got in trouble from writing some fan fiction about killing people. So luckily, I think he dropped out of that race before it was brought to the news media attention. But yeah, interesting stuff. All right, so with that, I've got 2 questions for you before we kind of move to my last grand finale. You kind of mentioned the book club being kind of live and kind of going through the Tribe of Hackers. When we inevitably get back to doing events in person, would you be interested in kind of a hacker chat where we interview a particular member of our community, like once a week, once a month, where you could just dial in and hear an interview with a single person? Does that interest any of you, or is that something that we should just probably trash?
I like it, or maybe more of a panel. Select a couple of people.
Ooh.
So you get just some differing opinions on whatever questions or topics are brought up.
Yeah, I like that idea. That was just something I was thinking about because I'm really enjoying putting these sorts of events on, and once a month just isn't cutting it for me. So we're thinking about, or I'm referring to myself in multiple third person here. I'm thinking about doing something like that in addition to FireTalksOnline, which leads me to my next question. I'm starting to hate the phrase FireTalksOnline because, well, one, we're not really doing Fire Talks anymore. We're not seeing a whole lot of people signing up for individual presentations, but more than anything, we're just having some really great conversations. So in the spirit of a community, do you all think that renaming this is a viable option? If so, is there any names that you'd be open to? Is it something we even need to consider?
Leave your brand as it is, man.
Leave it as is?
It's the brand. It's what people know. Keep it
Okay.
Keep it constant. Keep it consistent. That'd be my recommendation.
One thing that might be helpful, regardless of the naming, is you do have some topics that you do bring to the every month that you are going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Is pre-publishing those maybe several days beforehand. That takes planning, but so that we can do some research and maybe contribute more to that conversation.
Oh, I like that idea. So we might talk about, hey, our topic for today for our discussion will be focused on cloud
these
security.
certain subjects. These certain
Yeah.
subjects. Yeah, it doesn't in that Fire Talks vein. Maybe it is 3 or 4 different subjects.
Okay.
So that it would cover more people's interest. But then we can all do, and if you have specific links on things that you're going to be talking about, we can go do research and maybe have preformed opinions on.
Wirefall, that is genius. I really like that idea. I think really staging the conversation instead of just free forming it is a definite thing that we're going to do that for next month. Let's say that. Is there a particular topic that you think would be interesting to do for our more inaugural method here? What's something y'all want to talk about?
I think something that's probably apropos given the circumstances of the world is talking about the security changes and the changes that maybe you take it from a hacker perspective or even from a company perspective, or maybe both lenses, in how both hackers have changed their targets and their methodologies of attacks because of work from home and work from anywhere.
That's exactly what popped into my mind was the remote work and how that's changed the security landscape.
I mean, it's like today, Cisco Cisco VPN client actually had a 0-day that was dropped. Cisco dropped it themselves, but if you haven't seen it yet, it takes authentication. There has to be an authenticated session. There has to be credentials on the local system, but it is a full remote code execution capability.
Well, funny you should mention vulnerabilities. That was a news article that I forgot to mention today. I don't know if y'all noticed, but we had a Patch Tuesday a little early. 14 Adobe vulnerabilities of significant severity were released early on Tuesday. So just pay attention to that. We've got some active remote code execution vulnerabilities in some of the Adobe products. So take a look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And can I have another topic?
Yeah.
Kind of mentioned like the cloud security. Sorry for bombarding.
No, not at all.
Channel. If anybody dislikes, just you can tell me to shut the hell up. But I think one of the things. Thanks, Isaac. I appreciate it. You tell me to shut up even when I'm not talking, so it's all good.
Shut up.
Okay, thanks. But one of the things I think bringing into that conversation of cloud security, the landscape changing, the dynamics, and really, in particular to cloud security, and as companies are starting to do more and more cloud adoption, the need to really isolate and create their own dark infrastructures is what I'm terming it. I haven't actually seen a term thrown on it.
Dark infrastructure. What explain that.
It really basically creating a reverse proxy into your infrastructure, isolating it from the world. So all of your applications that are internal instead. So if you're AWS, GCP, DigitalOcean, doesn't matter. Creating a reverse proxy that you use a client to actually communicate through. So you actually only publish those apps to that reverse proxy. So you create a middle layer of being able to get to it and only allow the authorized clients to be able to get to it via kind of think of it as really what it is a reverse proxy in the middle, right? And so just isolating and creating your infrastructure, removing it from the open internet.
Yeah, I completely see where you're going with that. And Uberkitten, is that something along the lines of PSM?
I was thinking Beyond Corp, Google's idea methodologies.
Well, that's zero trust, isn't it?
Yeah, it goes into zero trust elements. It definitely is highly zero trust, right? Yeah, I don't want to be vendor naming and dropping, but there are several that are out there. Your big players in the world are actually looking at it, but it's creating and isolating your infrastructure from the open internet, creating that zero trust layer from the network perspective, and then diving in with your access control of the endpoint systems. What's really important in consideration in that model is being able to accept and pass all methodologies of traffic, right? And what I mean by all methodologies of traffic is it's not just user interfaces, it's also command line interfaces,
so
APIs.
I'm not sure if what you're also kind of thinking of is the identity aware proxy that GCP uses.
Yep.
Because that's more or less what we use quite a bit.
It's a layer abstracted from that, right? So it's outside of GCP, right?
Gotcha. Because right now
that ties in for sure. It's one layer element to it.
Yep. Well, and the other thing too is it also depends on how you're setting up the networking and what your trust is. Like for most of the things that we're doing, we have VPN connection. We treat them as one hop away, and but we don't trust those networks to come back in. We've got firewalls that exist on the link, and just to monitor. But then we've got as far as accessing systems, the identity aware proxy and the firewalling, really like old school IP chains and IP tables, saying, okay, these people can come in on this port and communicate to these machines. So, some of that is already there.
Yeah, some of that is already there. I'll speak to this for the, I'm in the process of actually building that into the world that I'm in. And it does take that identity aware element of it, right? So you can use Google's identity aware proxy, you can use Okta's secure authentication perspectives. It ties in SAML integrations, right? SWA or SSO capabilities. But really what interests me the most out of it is that it's an always on solution, and it's not a VPN per se. Mm-hmm. Right. It really removes that need to go over and click on your VPN or even to run a VPN structure. You're creating a reverse proxy. You're just actually hooking at the kernel layer to say, hey, any traffic that is outbound on the system that's destined for these networks, send down this pipeline, which is to your reverse proxy that sends it into your infrastructure. And that's where, at that layer, you have your hooks into your identity aware elements.
That's actually pretty scary.
It is
it's
scary.
Too easy. It's really super easy when you're deploying new assets in cloud, that if you just check the box that says allow HTTP, HTTPS, it'll auto modify the ACLs to permit world in. You get a 0.0 /0 entry, and we had to be careful. One of our admins did that with a Redis box, and it only was a matter of I think 3 hours tops, and it was mining Bitcoin.
Yeah,
and it was great because it was like 1 processor, 2 gigs of RAM. So I think the sun would burn out before a single Bitcoin would have been.
Right, right.
Which, by the way, I want to just share with you all something that I'm working on, this cloud hacking lab, where we're actually demonstrating just that, how you can pivot into the cloud platforms, spin up a XM rig, Monero miner. If you all want to see that, shoot me a DM and I'll give you a free pass into the workshop. But yeah, it's... Again, what I think is really funny is, one, the processing that we're throwing at it is just like that. It'll take millions of years before we see a single cent, but at a minimum, I'm spinning up all these instances, and I'm at least they're all going to my wallet, but I'm not. Yeah.
Well, I have to pay really close attention because my primary cluster's 980 CPUs. Ooh. And 9 terabytes of RAM.
Holy balls.
We just did a special order to have 500 terabytes of SSD attached to it. So, and that's my main cluster. That's not
terabytes,
the cluster that's going in. Yeah.
Oh my! Do you remember when a single terabyte was like $100,000? I mean, wow.
Oh man, I'm paying $80,000 a month for this cluster, and I have 4 more coming up.
Wow.
So if someone is able to get into that infrastructure and start, really accessing it, oh yeah, I mean, the amount of money that could be lost is pretty substantial pretty quick.
Oh yeah. Well, I've seen an RCE on SaltStack, which, by the way, they just released another vulnerability. A single 0 day on that caused $2 million in Monero to be mined over a course of like several days, just due to that very thing.
Yep. True story. I can't give you the absolute name of the organization, but it's a major insurance for medical that is in the state of Michigan. Their password, their forgotten password application was running on a single instance, and it got popped. And it was mining Bitcoin for like a year. It was found 2 days before open enrollment, so we couldn't take the server offline. So what we had to do is we had to let it run through open enrollment, and we did compensating controls and some mitigations. And essentially every single day, one of the on-call handlers had to validate to make sure that it was still sitting there and not doing anything extra. We ended up, sliding an F5 in place with the advanced security module, and we were able to remove the code. But it was actually related to the struts vulnerability.
Ah. Yep, nice. Struts on Apache Tomcat. That was also an ingress point for the SamSam malware or ransomware. Struts was a pain in the ass for a lot of people. So yeah, I can see how they got in with that.
Yep.
By the way, Renegade, it's great to see you. Sorry about the hassle getting in, but it's good. It's good to hear your voice, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, now, and I actually brought you guys a small talk.
Oh yeah, what you got for us?
Here, you mind if I share my screen?
Not at all. Why don't I'll switch over to your screen, and you go right ahead.
All right. So this was already released, or this was already sent over to Oracle via one of the people I know that works there, and I showed it to 2 other folks, and they were like, "Yeah, you're dumb. This is actually somewhat interesting." So. I was standing up some open source intelligence, some OSINT machines for my threat intel folks, and I needed to get Maltego working, and it required, of course, the Java JDK. So Java, it wouldn't work with the open version. I had to get it. So I said, okay, no problem. I bounced over to the Oracle site, and you'll notice there's a small, it's really hard to see, but there's a small lock next to the download. Okay, no big deal. it redirects you to the license agreement acceptance, and you can barely see it, but there's still a small lock right there next to the download. And when you click it, it redirects you to the actual SSO sign-in page for their, products.
Oh.
And I said, this is bogus. I'm not signing in for free, open, available stuff. Now, I actually do have an account, but I just don't play that way. So what I actually ended up doing was saying, well, let me inspect the element and let me see what's going on. Once I drilled through, what I saw was that they actually secure it with a case where they've got a download locked class. So I said, well, this is kind of dumb. I mean, it's right there. I wonder if I could just, edit that one line and just delete the lock. So I did. If you edit it in place, you can actually just delete the fact that it's locked. And you can then go ahead and take out the URL redirect. And as you can barely see, the lock button goes away. And so I did modify the URL slightly to point to the OTN-pub. But otherwise than that, it's the original, and you could just download the file.
Wow. So you basically bypassed their authentication by manipulating the code basically in the browser, huh?
Yep. Just your simple, like I said, just under your debug, just going ahead and inspecting the element. And I let them know in July. They made some changes to the site. It used to be that you could just use the OTN, and you didn't have to add the OTN pub. So they tried to fix it, but they still left it broken in that the OTN pub is available if you just delete the lock. And now if you go to download the version 15, you no longer have to sign in to get your downloads. So I originally shared this with them in July, but if you go to download 11, it's still behind the SSO wall, but it doesn't really matter because it still works. So
very cool. I actually did something similar to this with itpro.tv, IT security training, which I think is kind of ironic because I was able to do very similar inline editing to download their entire content catalog. So you can do a lot with this method of hacking a website. So well done, Renegade.
I don't even consider it hacking. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's almost like, what do they say? It's almost like natural selection.
I was thinking the early certified ethical hacker, like version 2, where you modify the web page and get a TV for a penny, from 2004. And it's just the fact that their single sign-on allows you to delete the lock.
That's just straight up crazy. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Renegade. That was really powerful, man. That you can do something as simple as that to get into it's not a paywall, but getting past a barrier. So that's fantastic.
And if you think that it's affecting Oracle, which has not unlimited but very high number of resources, it's not just some small.
It's not a fly-by-night little order.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big one.
Hey,
all right.
If I'm gonna go to the lockup for something goofy on the internet, I'm making sure it's Oracle or Microsoft, something big.
There you go.
Not some mom and pop chop shop with a stupid web page.
If I'm going down big, right? That's what I say whenever I'm in a car accident. If I'm ever going to get in a car accident, I want it to count. So I want to hit like a Ferrari or a Bentley or something. Like I said, make it count.
I was going to say you're probably like me. Instead of hitting the brakes, you hit the gas.
Hell yeah! Especially if you're going to make it count. Got to make my deductible.
Whoever's going fastest is most likely to take the least amount of damage.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Well, guys, we're approaching 8:45. I've got two things I want to really cover real quick.
Can I suggest one more topic?
Yeah, absolutely. What would you like to talk about?
As a future thing, I get pinged by the family and what have you, and everybody's working from home. So, how do we build up VPNs and whatever on consumer? How do we beef up work from home security on consumer grade stuff?
So, like, how we could introduce like OpenVPN or something like that?
Yes, something so I can protect the local family where I don't have access to all their stuff, especially now. Is like how can I introduce this to non-tech savvy folks?
Yeah, consumer grade IT security.
Yeah, and be relatively hands off because I can't get there. I know. Our good friend Rexer has some sort of access into all his family's routers and stuff like that, and VPNs. But I'll let him speak to that. But that's not where my family is. So I'd like to see something on that we could maybe publish, or I could work through myself.
That's actually an interesting topic. I actually did a presentation, information security in a post-COVID age for Hermit's company, actually. I will publish that online and on Twitter, but I definitely think that's a topic that we could even expand on. I mean, I'm not going to cover, I don't know everything, so I definitely would love to talk about that, and I see that being a topic that is applicable to us as information security professionals, but the general public as well. So great call out there. All right. Well, I've got two things I want to show you real quick. I published a tweet earlier this week about hacking the SAML protocol, the federation between cloud and on-prem environments. I wanted to showcase this code called Shimit. This is a recorded demo of that, so let me share my screen again. Let's see here. Go live, there we go. I've decided that I'm no longer ever doing a live demo again. I've had it bite me in the ass too many times, so we now record our demos.
As an SE, I learned that a long time ago too, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but sacrificial chickens are hard to get through TSA. So yeah, we're recording our stuff now. But basically, Shimit's on Dayjob's website on GitHub. So if you want to check it out, just search Shimit. But basically, what we're doing is abusing the key generating service of the SAML Federation application. Once you get access to that key, basically you can start crafting your own SAML tokens. And I know I'm using the vernacular wrong, but basically once you do that, it's very similar to the golden ticket attack used on Active Directory domains. Basically, you can create your own accounts that don't even exist, and any SAML application is ultimately vulnerable. So it's pretty scary stuff. So you can see here we're creating admin at dom.com, and we're basically getting into AWS with a fabricated account. So yeah, that's let it play out here. We're about halfway through. Now, Jonathan, I think you were talking. You had some correspondence with me with this. Did you get a chance to play around with this or anything at all?
I got the general gist and I skimmed the code real quick, but I didn't get a chance to play with it.
No worries. I find that it's actually hard to POC this because you actually have to have all this infrastructure in place already. But you can see this is the script playing out, and it opens up a shell with the new role that you've connected, and you can demonstrate that you've successfully done the magic here. Fast forward a little bit. But yeah, there's the listing all the users that we previously couldn't do. So yeah, that's Shimit. So if you want to play around with that code, there's that. And then lastly, before we go, we've got 10 minutes left. Let's see here. Let me go with the circuit board now because this is appropriate. Y'all have seen me do this before, but y'all familiar with the USB killer?
Yes.
This thing is filled with capacitors instead of flash storage. So this will basically store up a charge and fry whatever electric device, or not electric, but any sort of computer device. Supposedly, as of a certain date, Apple products are now protected against this. But to this date, I have yet to find an Apple user that's willing to let me fry their equipment. So basically, this is the protective sleeve. And so you can see here, let's see if this will work. So you can see the sparks. So it will give you a good little jolt there if you're not careful. But what I wanted to do today is fry two different devices for you all here at FireTalks. This is my mother-in-law's computer. So I decided to take this HP machine. I mean, let's face it, it has a PS2 port, okay? So, yeah, we're going to fry this bad boy. So, let's take a look here. Y'all ready for this? All right, so in 3... I don't know about you, but do you ever get it the USB plug in right the first time? I think it's heresy if they do. But anyway, let's give this a shot. 1, 2... Go ahead.
The creator of USB, when he died, they actually had to flip him over in his grave because it didn't fit right.
3 times.
Even yes. I get that now, of all things. Ready? 3, 2, 1. That was quick.
Ooh.
You can actually smell. It's actually got some smell to it. We'll leave it on here and see if it sparks. But yeah, there's definitely kind of a burning odor.
Are you sure it's a full circuit? Lick your finger and touch the other USB port.
All right, well, let's see if this will turn back on. I seriously doubt it. Yep, folks, we have fried a laptop. It is no longer functional. So congratulations, you've actually seen the USB killer at work. The next thing I want to fry in front of you today is a Dell tablet that was bequeathed to me. This thing is antiquated as all get out. It's running Android 4.4, and it stinks. My uncle who passed away apparently smoked, and I can't keep this in my house anymore. It just is disgustingly gross. So anyway, I wanted to showcase there's these adapters that come with the USB killer. In this circumstance, a USB beta or USB B. I don't know. Anyway, it's the micro USB. There we go. I've already got another USB killer. This is the more the cheaper version. So this is the white one, and then there's the Pro version that looks like a more legitimate USB flash drive. So we're going to try this in the tablet. So we used the Pro model last time. We're going to use the standard model this time. So let's give this a go. In 3, 2, 1. There we go. Oh, you hear that? It's clicking.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it died.
No, it's not. But it's definitely firing. I think there's probably some sort of protection in there that's keeping it, but you can see the red. Well, it's a little too bright, but you can see a red LED going off. Can y'all hear the clicking?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So let's try it with the Pro model, see if it's any different. I'm kind of disappointed.
I wonder, does it charge via USB?
Well, that's the thing, is it's taking the power from the USB, charging the capacitor, and then ejecting it back. This one isn't doing anything.
I'm thinking, does the tablet charge by USB?
Oh, yes, it does.
Maybe
you're probably right.
Maybe could be why.
Well, that would explain why last time I tried to do this in front of a bunch of kids, it failed as well. Yeah. So this is actually where I cut myself to pieces. I was in Oklahoma City. One of the directors of Sonic asked me to speak to a high school of kids, teaching them about InfoSec and penetration testing. And we demoed the USB killer. It didn't work, so I literally broke a tablet over my knee, not realizing that the shattered glass would cut my hands to shreds, and I ended up bleeding all over these high school kids. It was, yeah, it was.
Oh man, here's something as a warm of thought. I don't know if this is correct or not. There may be a ground, or it may be expecting. I wonder if you can do a piece of metallic tape to break that, and then send the electricity through the other pins. So, like, think of power over Ethernet. You expect it to come in on the brown. But if you brought it in on green, right, and it's not expecting it there, maybe that would bypass the power protection. I don't know.
Yeah,
it might be
I think
something to try.
probably taking this adapter and then just shorting the different pins in might help with doing that. You know what I mean? Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll try that for next time.
Ah, man, now I'm going to have to go buy one of those and a tablet.
Well, if you want, you can have this one because, like I said, it smells terrible, and I don't want it. So if anybody wants a free tablet, DM me, and I can gladly send it your way. So, all right, folks. Well, that means we're quickly approaching the top of the hour. I'll kind of just leave this open. Anybody looking for employment? Anybody hiring before we conclude today? All right. Okay, folks. Well, I'm going to call it. Stay tuned. Next month, we'll be doing another one of these Fire Talks online. We'll actually have some topics pre-planned to discuss. I'm really looking forward to that. Wirefall, Neural, great ideas on making that as a suggestion. I will definitely incorporate that. So thank you again, everybody, for taking the time to meet with us for 2 full hours. Uber Kitten, I love your new icon. Deal with it, Biden. It looks like Biden's going to take it. So, all right, folks. Well, thank you again. Have a great evening, and look forward to seeing you at the next Fire.